Samuel Solder very generously gave me a year's worth of subscriptions on Patreon and brings you today's video. Solphim versus Heartless Hidetsugu. Couple of mono red commanders here. We've got a Wheel of Fortune and decent curve there, so I will keep. Frostbite will be a lightning bolt for us, so just get out the mountain and pass. Just hoping our opponent doesn't get into any fast mana. Had a pretty rough time against fast mana recently, but no Soul Ring at least. A Cathartic Pyre for us probably gets discarded to the Wheel of Fortune, but we'll see what we draw. Go for a Roiling Vortex here. So the first point of damage with the Roiling Vortex being dealt to our opponent, which will of course be doubled once the Solphim comes into play. And there we see a Goblin Bombardment, so matching us on the 2 mana enchantment. Roiling Vortex deals 2 damage to us as well. Or 1 damage I should say. There's that 4th land that we wanted, so drop the mountain, and I think we're fine to go for the Impact Tremors. Then we can hold up the Frostbite. That will be a lightning bolt for us, like I said. Don't think they're going to get fast mana into their commander, but we can threaten that at least. Alright, our opponent not doing anything on turn 3 apparently. And there's an Electrickery for us, so yeah, we just risk getting down our commander here, I think. And that will be 2 damage from the Impact Tremors onto our opponent. Electrickery I'm not sure is going to be all that useful to us, so we can always ditch it to the Cathartic Pyre, I suppose. But yeah, I think it's best just going for the Wheel of Fortune while our opponent has a fair amount of cards in hand. And there is a Pyretic Ritual, so I dare say that our opponent matches us here. Alright, and went for a Wheel of Fortune instead. That saves us some mana at least. Was hoping to go for the bolt onto the Heartless Hidetsugu first, but I'm not against that. A Faithless Looting as well is not card advantage for them. Drawn into an extra planar lens and a Nykthos for some ramp. A Jeska's Will is available to us as well while they don't have their commander in play. Probably just the Jaya next turn. And then a Mog Fanatic from our opponent is probably just a chump blocker. Okay, there's a Zozu the Punisher, so we can't get that down and the Nykthos, but it's worth going for the Nykthos here anyway, so tap that down. Makes us 4 mana. Then we can go extra planar lens, and here's where it makes a difference that we've got snow mountains as opposed to our opponent's basic mountains. Only our lands will tap for 2 mana. So then we've got 5 mana available to us. Yeah, we can go for the Jaya here, I think. That's a pretty mana efficient turn for us. Let's swing in at our opponent. So swing in at Solphim and see if they want to block. They do not. So we deal 6 commander damage thanks to the Jaya. And then I think we're alright to tick down on the Jaya. We'll just do it on our opponent. This is a burn deck, so taking our opponent down to 23 would have been 2 damage, but obviously is doubled to 4. And then they take another shock at the beginning of the turn to the Roiling Vortex, so we've got them halfway. Playing in the multiplayer room here, which most 1v1 players do now, so your opponents have 10 extra life, which isn't good for aggro and burn decks. That is a Rite of Flame, and a Basilisk Collar is life gain. On a 1-1 I'm not particularly bothered. They can gain the life there if they want to. We can stop them gaining a chunk of life with Roiling Vortex. And then on there as well is a Prophetic Ravings. So they're just holding that back so that they can rummage thanks to the enchantment. We get into more annoying enchantments of our own. That is a Sulfuric Vortex. So definitely drop a mountain. And yeah, we're just about to get interesting there, but our opponent has seen enough. Sulfuric Vortex would have been 4 damage every turn, so that's 6 tied with the Roiling Vortex. Zozu would have been another 4 damage every time they have a land enter, so that means 10 damage a turn if they make a land every single turn. So writing was on the wall there. 2 more turns of them making lands and they're pretty much done. Another mono red game here up against Zurzoth this time, not one that you see very often. And that's pretty slow, but I like the Swiftfoot Boots. We've got an alright curve with Light Up the Stage for only 3 mana. So just start the game off with a mountain and slowly getting our way up to that slow Light Up the Stage. Faithless Looting from our opponent to look at some more cards. And there is a Jaya's Immolating Inferno, which we are nowhere near at the moment, but if the game goes anything like it did last time, then should be able to make some use of it eventually. They discarded, by the way, a Bag of Holding and a land in Scavenger Grounds. We see a turn 2 Ancient Tomb, which takes them into Zurzoth, but the Ancient Tomb should help us out in a burn deck. We draw into a Flame Rift, which is obviously really good with our commander. So do we go for Light Up the Stage here? Because we're looking at getting down our commander next turn. We could get into some ramp, I suppose, and hold off on our commander for a turn. So go for a slow Light Up the Stage and just clear 2 lands off the top, so I'm happy with that. We'll have to continue to take life throughout the game to the Ancient Tomb, I would have thought. There we see from our opponent exiled is a Wheel of Fate. So they're going to be wheeling us sometime soon, which isn't the worst thing for us. We've got a Bitter Reunion as well. Alright, and there's a Torbrand, Thane of Redfell, so drop and crack the Wooded Foothills from exile. Keep the mountain in our hand, of course, for next turn. And then if they've got removal for the Torbrand, then so be it. It's at least not going on to our commander. And then the turn after that, we can hope to get into another land, a 6th one, so that we can go Neheb and put Swiftfoot Boots on that. But at the moment, it's our commander and Swiftfoot Boots next turn. Okay, they went for the exile on the Jeska's Will, so managed to get themselves into a Sol Ring. And there's a Lightning Greaves as well. And a Mountain they also exiled. I think they got 2 mountains actually and played one. Now a Gate to the Ether. At the beginning of each player's upkeep, that player reveals the top card of their library. If it's an artifact, creature, enchantment or land, they can put it onto the battlefield. So our opponent swings in, has us discard. We obviously discarded the Flame Rift last turn. This time discarding the Bitter Reunion and getting us into a Roiling Vortex. So we're best getting rid of the Devil now while we can. Might be that our opponent has a Lightning Bolt or something, but we'll get rid of the Devil before it does too much damage to us. Now Gate to the Ether, going to trigger for the first time. And we will reveal with Gate to the Ether. That got us into another mountain. So we could go for Neheb here, another mountain. So we're clearing a lot of lands off the top with our various means of card advantage. This has 3 counters left on it. I can just barely see. So why not Neheb the Eternal here? I dare say there's blocked with the Devil token. So maybe we can just go Roiling Vortex into our commander here. I imagine if they had some kind of burn to get rid of the Torbrand, then they would have definitely used it. So maybe we can forego the Swiftfoot Boots. I'm just worried about the random discarding from the Zurzoth. So we'll swing in with the Torbrand, and if they want to do a bunch of blocking on us, then so be it. But managed to whack them for 4 damage, thanks to the +2 from the Torbrand. So now the Roiling Vortex is going to deal 6 damage, I think. 1 from itself. Torbrand makes it 3, and then our commander doubles it, so they're at 32 at the moment. We'll see what they end up at. Yeah, they do go down to 28. So, yeah, it's the doubling effect from the Solphim first. Doubles this up to 2, and then adds 2 to it from the Torbrand. That's how it works. So Torbrand's +2 is always added last. Okay, there's a snow-covered mountain from our opponents, so we'll have to be wary of that if we decide to go for the extra planar lens at some point. Our opponent's got into a Wild Evocation. At the beginning of each player's upkeep, that player reveals a card at random. If it's a land, the player puts it onto the battlefield, otherwise they cast it without paying the mana cost if able. Faithless Looting being flashed back with 3 cards in hand. And discarding an Anger to give all their stuff haste, as well as another Snow Mountain. Okay, so just holding up a bunch of mana with those 3 cards in hand. Wild Evocation hopefully reveals the Neheb. Instead it is the Jaya's Immolating Inferno, which couldn't have been worse. Obviously X spells aren't particularly good when you're playing them for free. Roiling Vortex deals 1 damage to us. Oh, Roiling Vortex actually dealt 5 damage to us there. I'm not sure if that was a May ability, but we just took 5 damage for no reason. Yeah, we were able to cast it, so we had to do that there and took 5 damage to our own Roiling Vortex. Obviously X is 0 when you play it for free though, which is, yeah, why that was pretty bad for us. And then we see a Chaos Warp, so they did have removal, and they're going after the Torbrand. Yeah, so we'll see what we get into here. I'm just hoping that we can deal damage to our opponent faster than they can do it to us. Got an Impact Tremors again, and it was a Cathartic Pyre. The reveal zone isn't working for some reason. Magic Online does this sometimes, but it was a Cathartic Pyre, so we're seeing all the same cards as we saw last game. 1 damage to us. And there we go, it stays on top, so that is the Cathartic Pyre. Not sure how useful the Neheb's going to be, because we're not going to be able to get through these Devil tokens, so I think I will actually just pitch these. Okay, and there's just a mountain, so we might as well get out the Solemn Simulacrum here. This game isn't going quite as well, but we will shock our opponent at least with that Impact Tremors. And then we'll protect the Solphim with the Swiftfoot Boots. And I suppose we can swing in here and try and keep our opponent off these Devil tokens. So blocking and going to deal a point of damage to us. 2 counters left on the Wheel of Fate. And it's 2 damage from the Roiling Vortex to our opponent. The Wild Evocation and the Gate to the Ether, obviously really good against our opponent with the Roiling Vortex. It gives us 5 damage, but it does 10 to our opponent. They got out a free Stranglehold there for 10 life. Now it's an Omen Machine. So, yeah, really getting the combos off on us here. But I think we've got our opponent thanks to the Roiling Vortex. It was worth getting out. A Glimpse of Tomorrow has been exiled as well, which I think was off the Gate to the Ether. So nothing to reveal with the Wild Evocation, which is why I emptied my hand before so that we can't take damage to it. We'll go for Gate to the Ether. 1 damage to us from the Roiling Vortex, so can't draw cards thanks to the Omen Machine. There is a Goblin Chain Whirler, so might as well cast that. And that's 5 damage to us from the Roiling Vortex, but we'll deal 2 damage to our opponent's commander and 2 damage to them. And then it's 2 damage from the Impact Tremors as well. So we've got our opponent down to 6. Let's put haste on the Goblin Chain Whirler. And then we are turning in sideways and hopefully getting pretty damn close to getting our opponent. So they decide to scoop. Yeah, they did get the nice combination of cards off on us here in Gate to the Ether and Wild Evocation. The Omen Machine is a really nice one with these control-y type pieces, stopping us from drawing cards and forcing us to take life. But unfortunately, Roiling Vortex with our commander in play is the perfect way to switch off their combination of cards there. They were taking way too much damage to the free spells. So that was a pretty fun series of Solphim games, I think. Hopefully you all enjoyed the video. Be sure to leave it a thumbs up if you did, and help get the video discovered by other potential viewers. I'm tribalkai. Thank you for watching.